No special activity. I just want to make sure that we don't have interruptions during the presentation. This is our 11th Creative Mornings in Fort Lauderdale. One more, and we will have our annual celebration. That's next month. That we've been a year here in Fort Lauderdale. Big hand for the community and the team for getting there. When we started, I think we were somewhere around 100 cities in Creative Mornings. 100 cities worldwide. We are now at 145 cities. This is the Fort Lauderdale chapter. We're at 145 cities across the globe right now. Creative Mornings wouldn't happen without our sponsors, and I want to thank Access Space for hosting us as they do many months, and also Top Hat for catering the breakfast that we have and the coffee. These are global partners that support Creative Mornings worldwide. And of course, our volunteer team. This couldn't happen if we didn't have all the individuals that work on a monthly basis to make sure that things are coordinated, from meeting locations to speakers to food and everything to make this free event happen for you. So this month's theme is broken. I've seen a lot of different things on people's name tags of what can be broken, from hearts to trust to even the internet. I know someone in here was breaking that. Someone who can fix all of that is our host, and I'd like you to welcome Sebastian.
Welcome you guys to Creative Mornings. First of all, I just want to tell you that today we're really lucky to have our speaker today. He's gonna, if you a really bad day or you're trying to get out from a really bad moment in your life, this guy's gonna shock you and lift you guys up, and hopefully you guys Dre Baldwin.
Before I begin, everyone, I want to tell you a quick story. It was a national news photographer. He heard from his editor that there was a big fire going on, a big forest fire going on, and he needed to go down and take some photos of the fire. So the photographer gets over to the fire, but the smoke is so thick that he couldn't get any good shots. So he calls his editor and says, "Send me a plane so I can fly over the fire and take some good pictures." The editor says, "It'll be waiting on the runway as soon as you get there." He gets to the runway, the small rural airport, and as the editor said, there was a small plane warming up waiting for him. He hops in the plane, he yells at the pilot, "Let's go, let's go, let's go." The pilot takes off, they start flying. The photographer yells to the pilot, "I want you to fly over the north end of the fire and make 3 or 4 low-level sweeps." And the pilot turns around and says, "Well, why?" And the photographer says, "Because I'm a photographer. That's what I do. I take pictures. So fly over the north end of the fire, make 3 or 4 low-level sweeps so I can take pictures." And the pilot turns around and says, "You mean you're not the instructor?" Now today we're going to talk about theme is broken. And what I want to talk about is belief. When I was in high school, my background is in basketball. I tried out for the basketball team all 4 years. Freshman year, didn't make it. First day got cut. Sophomore year, got cut on the first day. Junior year, got cut on the first day, and it was my worst of all 3. I got completely embarrassed that day in front of a crowd that was bigger than this one. I'm talking about the non-tryout people. Girls were watching everybody. And after that tryout, I remember through that next week, I was really considering whether or not I wanted to keep playing basketball. I was trying to recreate in my mind, what am I going to do with my life? Because obviously basketball ain't it. I got cut from the team 3 years in a row. I got completely embarrassed in the 3rd year. But during that next school year, I eventually kind of repaired my belief and started playing again. And during that year, I remember I was talking to one of my classmates. We would all always trash talk. I come from Philadelphia, and up there basketball is really serious. We would always trash talk about who's better than who, I can do this, I can do that. And one of my classmates said to me, "You know what, Dre? We all do all this smack talk, talking about what we can do, what you can do, I'm better than you, I'm better than you. But you, Dre, you actually believe it. You actually believe all this trash you're talking." This is when I was a junior in high school. 5 years later, I was in the pros. Now today, talking about broken, since my background again is in basketball, I want to take the temperature of the room before I even get started. How many of you know what event is going on in basketball right now? Is everyone familiar? Everyone knows what's going on? Okay, we had the NBA Finals, which is basically the championship round of basketball, for those who don't know. I got another question. Who here, by show of hands, thought before the series began that the Cleveland Cavaliers would win the championship? All three of us? Okay. Now, knowing what we do know, up to this day, we played 3 games so far. Warriors have won 2 games, Cavaliers have won 1 game. Who thinks the Cavaliers can still win the NBA championship? 3 of us, okay. Now, who here is a lifelong Miami Heat fan? Just want to see LeBron James lose. Now, I put a whole bunch of videos on YouTube, man. I started out doing YouTube in 2006, taking a bunch of basketball videos. A lot of people training, doing drills, how to get better at basketball, maybe how to make a team, how to talk to a coach when you're not getting enough playing time. Nowadays, I talk a lot about philosophy, motivation, confidence, self-discipline. But 95% of my fans found me through basketball videos. So before the finals started, I did a preview of the finals, and I said what I think is going to happen in the finals, what I think needs to happen for whatever team to win. And my prediction was the Cavaliers win the series in 6 games. So the series begins, and I asked my audience on YouTube, would you like me to do recaps of every game? After a game, would you like me to do a recap of the game, talk about what happened, what I saw in the game, what I think is going to happen in the next game? And they say, yeah, do a recap of each game. So since I picked the Cavaliers in 6, a lot of people remembered that after the first 2 games of the series. So in the comments on YouTube, on my Twitter, everywhere, people are like, well, Dre, hey, you want to change your pick? You know, you picked the Cavs in 6, Dre. You know it's going to be a blowout. The Warriors won the first 2 games by a large margin. So you know it's going to be a blowout, Dre. You know the Cavs are not going to win. LeBron James is never going to win another title. Steph Curry is too good. Kyrie Irving is a bum. They're not going to come back. And being that it was only 2 games into the series, there were a few things that made me really curious. Because now they say sports imitates life. The way you play a sport is the way you play life. If any of you have ever played a sport, you probably know exactly what I'm talking about. Think of someone you know intimately, you probably know really well what I'm talking about. So knowing that sports imitates life, one thing that I thought to myself is, how many people live their life the same way they're looking at the NBA Finals? Since the Cavaliers lost that first 2 games, I was hearing not only from Warriors fans, or supposed Warriors fans since they're winning, but also Cavaliers fans. They would say, you know what, Dre, I'm a lifelong Cavs fan. I'm a LeBron fan, but this is just not going to work out. We're not going to win the finals. I knew LeBron wasn't going to win another title. He doesn't have the touch. He's not tough enough. Kyrie Irving can't guard Steph and Curry. We're not going to come back, Dre. I thought the Cavs were going to win, but you know what? I'm changing my pick. They're not going to win. But there are also these Warriors fans who are just so sure 2 games into the series that the series is pretty much over. Now, the NBA playoffs, for those of you who don't know, series are best out of 7. Whoever wins 4 games first. So after 2 games in the series, even if the series only goes 4 games, let's say one team wins 4-0, we've only played 50% of the series. If the series goes 7 games, we've only played 29% of the series. So a couple of things made me curious. Number one, since sports imitates life, how many people 29% into something, the first 2 attempts don't go well, give up? How many of them are ready to quit? How many of them get their spirits broken that easy? The second question is, this guy's Stephen Curry. For those who don't know, he's won the NBA MVP, which basically means the best player 2 years in a row. He broke, last 2 seasons ago, he broke the NBA record for most 3-pointers made in a season. And then this year, he broke his own record by making even more 3-pointers. If you don't watch basketball, I want to explain to you something. Even if you don't watch, you'll understand. When Stephen Curry shoots a 3-pointer, right? As soon as the ball leaves his hand, I mean, it didn't even get to the basket yet, but as soon as it leaves his hand, the fans who are cheering for the Warriors start celebrating because they expect the ball to go in the basket. You watch a Warriors game, as soon as he doesn't even have to shoot it, he just look at the basket. And the crowd starts cheering because they are pretty much expecting it's going to go in. And everyone's pretty much expecting the Warriors to win the games. So I also want to know not only how many people quit 29% into an attempt, but also how many people have such a positive expectation for their own success that they have the Stephen Curry 3-pointer or Warriors win the game. Interesting questions I want to ask. Now, what is belief, first of all? Since we're talking about broken belief, or very positive belief, very hardcore belief that can be broken, belief is acceptance that a statement is true or that something is true. So knowing that Belief means accepting something as real. What do we do when our belief is broken? Some people's belief is strong enough that they can withstand failure after setback after setback and still believe. Some individuals need to face 10, 20, 50 setbacks before their belief gets broken. Some people can start out with something, face one setback, and their belief is completely broken. Some people, yet, don't need any setbacks. They get an idea, they believe it can work out, and they think about it a little bit, and they talk to someone about it, and a few days go by, and they Google it, and all of a sudden they don't believe it. They didn't even try it. So for each one of us, we have different thresholds of belief for different areas of our lives. Knowing this, when our belief gets broken, what is it that we do? I think most of us agree that we fix our belief the same way you fix a broken pair of glasses. The lens in your glasses gets shattered, you go to the glasses guy, he pops some new lenses in your glasses, and you're as good as new. You go right back at it. We can all agree that in life you need to be consistent and persistent in your belief even when you face setbacks. So your belief is up here, things don't work out, put it back, try again. Don't work out, put it back, try again. Doesn't work out, put it back, try again. We can all agree this is a formula for success in life, right? Wrong. See, this is the number one thing that a lot of people get incorrect in life. The reason why a lot of people run on the treadmill their entire lives when it comes to their mindset and their belief, because they get this one point incorrect. If any of you lift weights, we have any people here who lift weights, go to the gym? So when you lift weights, you ever been sore a day after you lifted weights? What scientifically does your body tell you when you're sore after you lift weights? Does anyone know? Muscle fibers are broken. When you lift weights and you feel soreness the next day, that means you broke the muscle fibers in that area of your body. What do the muscle fibers do when you break them in your body for lifting weights? They repair themselves, but they don't just repair themselves back to where they were. They repair themselves stronger than where they were first time. That way, when the same stimulus hits you, you won't get the same response. Because if your belief is right here, and something causes you to lose belief, and you put it right back, the exact same thing is going to break you down again, and again, and again, and again. So even though you're being consistent, even though you're being persistent, even though you're doing all the right things, you're still not going to get any further because the same stimulus causes the exact same response over and over. But if we start treating our belief the same way we treat our muscles, or the way our body treats our muscles, to repair it stronger than it was before, then the same stimulus is not going to cause the same response. The reason why most individuals don't get this part right is because unlike our muscle fibers, we can't look in the mirror and see how big our belief has gotten. We can't show it off on the beach. We can't take photographs before and after to see our belief. We can't see it, so we don't understand this point. Now all of you will understand it because I'm explaining it. So when it comes to building your belief, the theory that I use is very simple. I call it doubling up. You have to double up on your belief every time you face a setback, so that the next time you face that exact same situation, it no longer is a setback. It doesn't slow you down. It doesn't cause you to lose belief. Now you can go right through it. You're stronger, and you can get to the next level, whatever that next level may be. You have 3 simple steps to doubling up on your belief. First point you have to understand is that the more that we believe, the more things we'll try. When we believe things, we get enthusiastic, we get motivated. We're motivated, we try things. The more things we try, the more things we do successfully. The more things we do successfully, the more things we get. Does that make sense? So knowing that we need to believe in order to reach success, what happens when our belief is too low? We haven't reached our success yet. When that belief gets broken down, we no longer believe. What do we do next? We have to increase the belief, put it back, but make it stronger. So how do we do that? The way I thought of it was thinking of LeBron James. After game 2 of the NBA Finals, everybody had written off the Cavaliers. They lost by 30 points twice. The media was all over the Cavaliers. They were all over LeBron James. Warriors fans were saying this series is over. Cavaliers fans were responding, it's over. YouTubers, many of you have been on internet responding to comments, you know how the YouTubers work. It was just out of control. No one thought the Cavaliers could come back. But I wondered to myself, what does LeBron James think the morning after game 2? He's the guy on that team. The whole team is built around him. The whole world is watching him. What's his mentality? What will he think when he looked in the mirror that next morning? Is he thinking, okay, well, this ESPN analyst is talking about my legacy. I lost another finals, I'm not going to make it. Okay, we have these lifelong Cleveland fans who are saying, this series is over. We're not going to win. We might as well just throw in the towel right now. I got this Instagram influencer over here making crying Jordan memes about me. We're not going to win another game. What am I going to do? LeBron James didn't have the benefit of throwing in the towel. He didn't have the option of not believing. He had to look in the mirror and say, look, nobody believes in us. Everybody's writing us off. We got our ass kicked the first 2 games of this series. But you know what? I'm LeBron James. Point me to the gym, give me the ball, and everybody get the hell out of my way. Because we got a game. This is my team. This is my city. This is my situation to take care of. They went out and won game 3. But regardless of what had happened in game 3, it was the mentality that he had to have after those first 2 setbacks. 29% into the situation. Maybe even 50% into the situation. Nothing was going right. No one expected him to win, but he had to say, you know what? I'm me. I'm taking the situation into my own hands, and I'm going to dictate the outcome instead of letting the outcome dictate the circumstances to me. The third thing I want you to understand when it comes to doubling up on your belief is everyone close your eyes. I want you to think of the biggest achievement you've achieved in your life. One that you had to go through the most BS to get to. One that nobody believed you would achieve. The achievement that just seemed impossible to most people when you started, but yet you accomplished it. Think of the moment when things did not look good. Might have been at the beginning. Might have been after a few attempts that didn't go well and people told you to quit. Might have been near the end when you almost walked away, but you decided to give it another shot. Think of that moment when nobody believed, nobody supported, no one saw you being successful. And you had to look yourself in the mirror and say, you know what? I'm by myself right now. It's all on me, whether I succeed or whether I fail. What is more important? What they say or what I say? What's going to be the outcome here? What they think or what I think? There's no one for me to lean on, no one for me to call on. I'm either going to get it or I'm not going to get it, but I'm me. Think about that moment when you didn't have the option of not believing in it. When you had no choice but to succeed, and you ended up doing it. Open your eyes. Now understand this. You can recreate that moment anytime you want. You don't need ESPN. You don't need to be in the NBA Finals. You don't need anyone else involved. You put yourself in that frame of mind any day of the week, any time of the day. You can get anything you want to get out of it. Now, recap those 3 points. Number 1, when we believe more, we get motivated. When we're motivated, we try more, we do more, we get more. In order to get a higher level of belief, we must increase our belief. We have to get to the point where we look in the mirror and say, it's just me. It's not on anybody else. Either I'm going to succeed or I'm going to fail, but it's all on me. You don't have the option of failing. You don't have the option of not believing. You have no choice but to succeed. It's back against the wall strategy. Death burnout strategy, as Robert Greene says in the 33 strategies of war. You have no choice but to fight. You will fight, and you'll win. All of us are survivors. You've all survived this moment, right? You've all faced setbacks before, right? But you made it to today. So the same mentality you had at that moment, when it seemed like nothing could work out, you can recreate that whenever you want. And number 3, remember that moment. Remember that time when it seemed like it was over. And everyone was writing you off. Nobody wanted to support you. People weren't answering your calls. But you figured it out and you made it work. Questions? Is that good?
Still think the Cavs have a shot?
I do. I do think the Cavs have a shot. I think they're going to win tonight. Yes.
Tell us about one of your moments.
One of my moments goes right back to that story I told to begin this talk. My junior year in high school, just to give you a little bit more detail, I come from the city of Philadelphia. School district there, the public school district there is kind of underfunded, to put it that way. We had a really small gym that was just big enough that if you came to the game to watch the basketball game, you couldn't sit down. Sideline was so thin that you had to stand up. So everyone was standing single file along the sideline like this. So if you dribbled the ball along the sideline, somebody could reach out and take the ball. So at tryouts, we had one coach, no assistant coach, no JV. I tried out for the team my junior year. I was about 6'1", 6'2", but I was really physically weak. I never lifted weights before. So this guy that I was guarding during tryouts, he was about 6'3", he was a senior, he was really strong. He was one of those, it wasn't weightlifting strong, now somebody's just strong, even though they don't lift weights, he was like street strong. That's the best way I can describe it. He scored on me about 11 times in a row in front of everybody. After about the 5th basket, this one girl who was watching, she was like, "You need to just go home." She was right. I didn't make the team there, obviously. And for about a week, I didn't touch a basketball. I started trying to recreate in my mind, what am I going to be? Because up to that point, my vision had always been, I'm going to be a basketball player. I don't know how, I don't know who, where, why, what, but I know I'm going to play basketball. But after my belief was so broken after that tryout, I was starting to think, okay, what else can I do? Can I be a rapper? Can I produce music? Can I be a writer? Maybe I'll just be more serious with school and be like one of those smart guys, an academic. What can I do? But my vision kept coming back to basketball, and I kept rejecting it. Like, listen, so just happened. It's like somebody knocking on your door. You're like, listen, I'm not interested. But they just keep knocking. I couldn't come up with any other vision. So then I went and tried out for a local basketball team. I made that team, got a little bit better. Finally made the team the next year as a senior. I scored about 10 to 15 points as a senior in high school. That's not per game. That's all season. 10 to 15 points as a senior. The next year I walked onto a college team, got a little bit better. My game really started to evolve once I got out of high school. From that point forward, I went to sports. Does that answer your question? Yes. There's a question in that. 3 points. Number one is that when you believe more, you get motivated. Motivation leads to action. The more you act, the more results you get. In order to get that belief, since we all agree to that, right? In order to get that belief, you have to increase that belief. You got to put yourself in the same frame of mind that LeBron James would be in. When everyone's writing you off, you have no one supporting you, no one expecting you to succeed. But you say to yourself, you know what? It's me. I know I've done this before. I know I can do this. Then, step 3. Put yourself in the same frame of mind you were in when you were in that same situation. Remember when you didn't have the option of failing, the option of being broken, the option of not believing, and you can get it done. You've already proven it by making it this long in life. Does that answer your question? Yes. Sure.
I completely agree with you. So thank you. I strongly believe that we traditionally environment is reality. And I think for us to have those moments where we believe in ourselves, we have to first have something that has to be back internally. It's really easy to deflect and say it's not external factor. But 99% of the time, you have to return and say, what can I have? What can I do? So how do you condition yourself to those internal results?
It's a great question. One thing that I do every single day, I don't start my day until I look at it. I start my day every day by looking at affirmations. Some people have a vision board or whatever it would be. I don't have a vision board. I keep everything on my phone. So I have a vision folder, a vision notebook in Evernote. So I look at that every single day, affirmations, things that I've written myself. I might take a clip out of a book that I like, take a screenshot of a tweet that I like, anything that gets me motivated, anything that gets me thinking of my goals, anything that gets me thinking confidently, boldly towards what I want to do for that day. I don't start my day until I charge my mind. Same way that we put our phones on charges, how many times per day? How many times per day do we purposely charge our mind? It's a question that I ask my audiences all the time. If you're charging your phone 3 or 4 times a day, but you never purposely charge your mind, I think you got things out of balance. Which one's more valuable? You get a million phones with your mind. You can't get a mind with your phone. So what I do is start my day every day that way, first 10 minutes and the last 10 minutes before I go to sleep. Exactly. Does that answer? Other questions? Yes.
I totally understand too because I was telling a little quick story. I was training my real estate license in Ohio for a while. Nervous to get them, get the real estate license, didn't take the actual state test. I went ahead and said, you know what, I'm really going to make this happen for myself. This is one of my personal goals that I want to be able to meet at 30. So I went ahead and actually studied for the test, and then I don't know if that ADHD looked on good, I just could not sit down and study for the test. So I went to talk to my therapist about it, and I was like, I can't do that. She said, you can do anything, but put your mind to. She said, how about this? If you just put a little bit of work towards it every single day, even if it's 5 minutes, you can say that I studied for 5 minutes, so I just technically studied. So I was like, okay, that makes sense. So I did that, ended up taking the test, and nervous. And my result was I missed the question on each part by 1 question. And I really could not believe by 1 question. I only flipped tables. But long story short, it rebuilt me. It showed me that I didn't have it in me to be able to pass. That I just really needed to focus on what areas that I needed to develop and actually go back stronger and make it happen. And that's what happens. I actually looked at the areas that I was struggling in, you know, studied in those areas, went back another week to take a test, and aced it with no problem. But it is always about your mindset that you have. You really truly believe that you can do something and you really can do it. You just have to put your mind to it and you realize that you really do have nothing but yourself. I know that now because I come from a big support system in Ohio, so coming here for 6 months and I have nobody but myself. So in times, I look in the mirror in the morning and say that, Justin, you can do this. You know, you just gotta get down and believe in yourself and make it happen. So I really believe you can.
So as Justin said, one thing Justin said, he didn't have a choice. You down here, you came here knowing no one pretty much. You had no choice but to find a way to succeed. Another thing he said was he was told to study for 5 minutes a day. Jim Rohn says, what is success? A few small disciplines compounded over time. And what is failure? A few errors in judgment repeated over time. So those few small disciplines equal you getting what it is you want. Exactly. So
Thank you for sharing. I want to ask, what is the one self-assurance and
it's an excellent question. There is no one. What you have to understand is, I recently did a TED Talk on this exact topic, but the video's not out yet. But what you have to understand is that there's no such thing as too much confidence. See, too much is a relative term. Arrogance is a relative term. Cockiness is a relative term. See, you can only be arrogant to me if I feel like your confidence is so high that I can fathom being as confident as you are. But if my confidence is equal to yours, then I don't have a problem with you. I can't call you arrogant. I don't think Donald Trump would say Kobe Bryant is cocky. Can we agree? So your confidence is at a certain level. The only time you feel threatened by another person's confidence is if theirs is at a level that you couldn't even possibly get to. So what we do when we see someone who believes in themselves at a level that's so much higher than ours, we have 2 choices. We either A, do the work to pull ours up there. This takes a whole lot of time, effort, and energy. Or we can do something much easier. Say this person's cocky, this person's arrogant, they think they're all that, they think they're better than everybody else. And that slowly, at least in our minds, pulls them back down to our level. So now we feel like we have some connection. Human beings are social creatures. So we want to feel like we're connected to other people. So when we see someone who's so far away from us, we got 2 choices to close that gap. Most people take the easy way. Does that make sense? Yes.
You use the term level up.
Yes.
Yeah.
To me, if you want to.
Well, I played professional tennis. I stayed training. I had a tennis coach that taught me basketball. So we used the tennis level up. He always teaches, you you have to level up. You really get it down. So that you don't have 2 points. If you get just training my mind to that level up.
Exactly. Building momentum.
Yeah.
Momentum works both ways, positively and negatively. You have one positive building another positive. You do it enough times, especially in competition. The goal, you break the will of your opponent. The goal is not just to beat your opponent. The goal is to break their will so they're going to play you. If you beat them, they're going to come back the next day. It's the same thing with me. You beat them, they come back. Beat them, they come back. You break somebody's will, you break their spirit. And so, but again, that's in sports. Maybe in life, that's in business. Maybe. Any other questions? I'm shocked. Yes.
I just want to comment that it's called believe, because they have keep making this get to the root and then you lose it. Like failures that never. So, but the fans, the film shows, the fans just keep pounding, leaving here, sort of, it's strikes a chord, 100%. They just never leave.
No, I didn't see that.
You can sit, if you watch that, you'll, say,
Yeah, I didn't see that one yet, but I guess they doubled up by bringing LeBron back.
I hope they're doing
Yeah.
history.
Well, that's the people on YouTube. So that's
Sounds
something.
like comedy.
Yes. Exactly. Right. Those are the things we remember. People go against the odds. Anyone else? Yes.
How do you know the right belief?
How do you know if you have the right, which one?
Well, I guess you know the right belief.
The right belief?
Yeah.
What belief leads to is motivation. Motivation leads to action. So are you taking the actions that you want to be taking? Are you taking enough of those actions? And if the answer is yes, then that means you probably have the right motivation that's coming from the right belief. But if you're not taking the right actions or enough actions, it probably has to do with a lack of motivation. And when you're not motivated, it's probably because you don't have the right vision of what it is that action is going to lead to. So they all work in a chain. Does that make sense? Doesn't look like it makes sense.
Alright, so how do you know?
Give me a real life example.
Well, I mean, I may hear certain people like they have a mindset focused on a certain goal,
Yes.
and people focus on reaching more number TV or whatever in that goal, and they kind of there's another goal that they got to kind of be a lot better than they should be.
Yeah.
So I was wondering, like, how do you know they're okay for that direction? That goal you kind of see, maybe not be that you really want it, but
Well, right direction is kind of, again, it's another relative term. It really depends on where you want to go. Are you clear on what it is that you need? And when you're taking the actions to get there, it's hard to put it, it's not a black and white thing. It's like, how do you feel? How do you feel when you're going towards this goal? Are you excited to get up in the morning and do work? How far are you from the goal? And how excited can you stay when you're this far away from the goal? See, we all get excited when we're this close. If we're this far, are you still motivated? Are you still excited to get up? You have a day where everything goes wrong, are you still excited to get up the next day? That's when I think you're in the right work. Other people may feel differently, but that's how I feel about being in the right work, doing the right thing. As far as it being the right goal, that's really only one person can decide that for themselves. You can't really say for another person. Does that help a little bit? Yeah. Yes.
What's the definition of consent? You say it over and over again, and not be successful. So what they like over the time is you have to change yourself. You can't change other people. So if you're doing something and you fail at it, you have to look inside and change the way you're doing something. Step one of the levels is if something's not working, look inside and what can you do to make it happen, not what can somebody else do.
Absolutely. I was listening to a podcast by this guy named Michael Hyatt. Are you familiar with Michael Hyatt? It's a podcast called This Is Your Life. One of the things he talks about is he was sitting with, I believe, his therapist or his coach, his mentor. He would complain about all his coworkers and his business partners, how this person messed up, that person messed up. And she would listen to him talk, and then she would pause and say, well, Michael, what was the failure in your leadership? What was it that you did wrong? She would never talk about the other people, never talk about the situation. She would always bring it right back to Michael. He would have to look inside of himself. Going right to your point. Thank you for that. Any other questions? Yes. Yeah, I'm a president in Miami Beach Toastmasters until July 1st. So we're changing officers on July 1st. Other than that, I do professional speaking. I do a lot of stuff online. So I'm on YouTube, I do Periscope, I do all the social medias. I do a lot of online programs, courses, coaching, consulting. I got podcasts. Pretty much do everything. I do a lot of
And
things.
if you want to book them, see.
If you want to book me, see me. Yes.
So we talk about the change, say, belief leads to motivation. So I think there's a lot of times that you have to get motivated, but there's a certain level of discipline. So I think that there's a certain virtue to discipline yourself, something that also
Absolutely. I think in order to take any action, there has to be some level of motivation. Everyone had that some level of motivation to come here today. Something you wanted to get out of this. Maybe you just want to come to this comfortable space, and this makes you feel relaxed. Maybe you want to hear the speaker. Maybe you want free food. Maybe you want to see somebody. There's something that leads, every action is driven by some level of motivation. Now, yes, discipline can lead to motivation as well, because when you believe that being disciplined and doing this every single day is going to lead to this result, then you're motivated to take action. Does that make sense? So when you're disciplined enough, that can cause you to believe, okay, I believe that if I'm disciplined, I'll take these actions. So it kind of fits right next to it. Makes sense? Yes. So another question. Sure.
I took you back with and then I studied IT, and then I took a position, and then I interviewed for her, now I'm perfect. And I have all the skills of ideas. I think my question is, what is the difference between you get an idea and is it kind of a computer failure? Like, no, that's actually not right. We need or not, is it actually solution for a computer? Is it a loss of motivation or a loss of belief in this idea, or how can you tell the difference between an idea that is lost because actually something is better and an idea that's a process?
I think when it comes to ideas, any idea that is not acted on is a lost idea. Any idea that's not acted on. So the first thing I think when I get an idea, if I really want to do something with that idea, I have to take some action on that idea. Doesn't mean I have to go register a domain name. Doesn't mean I have to go start a business, but compound on that idea. There's a guy with a podcast named James Altucher. You're familiar with James Altucher? One thing he talks about with his ideas is every time he gets an idea and he thinks it's a good one, he comes up with 5 ideas that can make that idea actually happen. Because what it does is get your brain thinking about that idea. Now it's consciously on the idea, and it maybe can get buried into your subconscious. Eventually it'll come back to you and something you better for it. But if you don't do anything with an idea, it's just an idea is just out there on the ether, it's not worth anything because you didn't do anything with it. So I don't think it really has anything to do with your belief or what you think might be a better idea, because ideas are a dime a dozen. You come up with as many ideas as you can. One great thing I found is that when you're trying something that's not working out over and over again, think of an idea as the exact opposite of it. So you're trying to make this much money, it's not working. What if I didn't need to make any money, what would I do? And then you do something, and then all of a sudden, what you wanted to find. Sometimes, not all the time.
What was the tip
Come up with 5 ideas that would make that idea actually happen. So if you had an idea to open your own workspace, what are 5 ideas that could get that to happen? Who has the money, who has the space, where it would be, who would be there, what would it have, or the features, you can write all that down. So now you're actually actively thinking about the idea. Altucher, Altucher.
Yes. So I was talking to one of my friends, and I was a lot of ideas like he said. But it makes my interest talking business. What products should I offer? How should my logo look? How should my website look? My friend made a good point. He said, you know what? You have friends, and friends that are influential to you. Maybe she's your boards. She's every company is ran by a board, or a board period. So what I did was I got together all the influential people that are in my life. And I make them my board. So I contact them, what do you think about this logo? What do you think about the idea of this product? And I get the feedback from them to know exactly what my product is. So I think that's how you build the process of motivation when it comes to your ideas. Is by talking your ideas out with a board that's just close equal to me.
Special. I think we got our next speaker ready.
Right?
All the way, guys.
Well, big round of applause for Dre, please.
Yeah.
So let's bring
I'm not a cast, man. I'm a basketball. Basketball.
what's that?
What? Flip selfie?
Oh, yeah, sure. So show something with you got everyone in here?
You got a lot of hours.
Yeah.
So you got together maybe?
Yeah, he's got one more.
You gotta be more than
Yeah.
Everyone smile. Everyone on the side, smile.
Thank you, Jay. Creative Mornings, we are going to have it for July the 8th, Friday, July the 8th. Actually, the speakers for the event right now, I'm going to tell you who he is or she is. And we'll figure it out and we'll let you know where it's going to be, who he is. And, waits for you for our next Creative Mornings, all right? Take care, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.